So what is there in a beaker? A. Copper sulfate with zinc piece. What is there in a second beaker?
Copper sulfate with nail.
What is there in a third beaker?
Zinc sulfate
with copper piece. Okay. What is there in a beaker 4?
Iron sulfate with copper piece.
But we don't have iron sulfate. Instead of that, I took magnesium sulfate. So what happens? The copper in a magnesium sulfate, let me observe. Okay. And in a fifth beaker, zinc sulfate with the iron nail. With the iron nail. Okay. Okay. In the chapter metals and non-metals. So these are some of the illustrations of the metals. Which are these metals? Brass, chromium, iron, cobalt, copper, lead, tin, magnesium, zinc, nickel, manganese and aluminium. These are the different metals. You can see the different metals. So these are the different metals, right? So which exist in the nature. And what are alloys? What are alloys? Homogeneous mixture of two or more metals, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Alloys? Homogeneous mixture of two or more metals, right? So here there is aluminium, hard, brass, bronze, bell metal, bullet metal, carbon, steel, die steel, eureka, German silver, gun metal, and pig iron, tin solder, tin hard, stainless steel, and white metal. These are the different alloys. How alloys are made? How alloys are made? It is a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals. When two or more metals are mixed up, we can see alloys are formed. Now, today's experiment, how the metals react with other metals out. Now, in the first experiment, so observe the worksheet. Observe the worksheet. Now, what is given in the first one? First, what happens when you dip iron nail in a copper sulfate solution, right?
Yes.
What is given in the first beaker?
A
Read it.
sulfate
Copper sulfate with zinc piece. Right?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
what is the color of zinc actually? What is the color of zinc?
Zinc metal here.
No. What is the color of zinc metal? What is the color of zinc metal?
Blue.
See. What is the color of zinc metal?
Silver.
Yes, it is silver color. Right?
Yes,
This is the
ma'am.
color of
Silver.
zinc metal. Okay. When you drop this zinc metal in copper sulfate, what could be the result? What could be the result? Okay. See. So we already placed the zinc metal in a copper sulfate solution. Now look at this. What is the color of zinc?
Black.
It is converted into black. Right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this is converted into black. Now get me the paper, filter papers like this. 5 filter papers in first cupboard. Get me this. So this is the first one. So when zinc metal, when it is allowed to place in a copper sulfate, what happens to the color? What happens to the color?
Black.
The silver color changes into black. Okay. The second one. So second one. What happens in, what is the solution taken in second beaker?
Copper sulfate.
Copper sulfate placed in
First cupboard.
the name placed in copper sulfate, right? You can see little bit brownish color here surrounding.
Yes, ma'am.
Little bit brownish, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is the iron displacing the copper. The iron is displacing the copper. Again I will wipe up.
Ma'am.
And what is there in the third beaker? What is there in the third beaker?
Zinc sulfate copper piece.
In third, zinc sulfate with the copper piece. So this is third beaker. Now, what happened to the copper when it is placed in a zinc sulfate? Any changes?
No, ma'am.
Any changes?
No, ma'am.
So in third beaker there is no change, right? And what about fourth?
Iron
Iron sulfate with copper mix. But I didn't took iron sulfate. What I took is magnesium sulfate, right? What happened here? What happened here? Any changes to the copper piece? Okay. In the fourth beaker, when I place the copper in a magnesium sulfate, you can see some coating has been removed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
See the variation you can see here. So here in the third beaker there is no much change, but here some coating has been done. Coating has been removed, right?
Yes,
Coating
ma'am.
has been removed. And in the third, fifth
Zinc sulfate.
with iron in, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You can see. So some surface layer has been removed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The surface area has been removed. You can see the upper coat has been removed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why this happens? Why this happens? So there is a reactivity series for this. How to recall this reactivity series? There is a mnemonics for this. What is that mnemonics? So this is the reactivity series you want to recall. Okay. Now how to recall? So K for potassium, Na for sodium, Cl for calcium, Mg for magnesium, Al for aluminium, and here you can write carbon separately because this is non-metal. This is
Non-metal.
and these are the metals. Okay. So I wrote it separately because these are non-metal. And next is zinc, Zn, iron, Fe, tin, Sn, Pb, lead. Okay. And here I wrote hydrogen separately because this is also non-metal.
Non-metal.
And then copper, Hg means mercury, Ag means silver,
Silver.
Au means
Gold.
gold. Okay.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
how to recall this in our order? There is a mnemonics. K means potassium. Potassium, P. It starts from P, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Potassium starts from P. Please. P means
Please.
sodium starts from S, right? Sodium starts from S. So you can use the word mnemonic word stop. Calcium,
Call.
Ca. Okay, calcium, Ca. Magnesium, M. The first letter is M. And aluminium, A. Okay, for carbon, careless, C. Okay, for zinc, Z. Zebra. For iron, instead, I. I is iron. And for tin, T. And for lead, L. And for copper, so as it is copper. And for silver, as it is silver. And sorry, for silver it is same, right? And for gold, gold as it is. Okay?
And last one, ma'am.
Gold. Au, gold. Okay? Now, how to recall this? Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Please
Stop calling me a careless zebra.
Okay? So, till zinc, we got the mnemonics. Till the zinc. And next, instead, try learning copper, same, gold. So take all the first letters and you can get the reactivity series. Okay, in the first experiment, in the first beaker. So, which is the metal salt we took? Yeah, the metal salt now toಗೊಂಡಿರೋದು. First one. Copper sulfate, right? Copper sulfate. Where is copper? Here. Okay? Copper sulfate. And what we inserted inside the copper sulfate? Zinc, right? Zinc base, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, zinc is more reactive than the copper. Zinc is more reactive than the
Copper.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So zinc replaces copper. Zinc replaces copper. Hence, the zinc metal, the color it will get changes because the zinc started moving towards the copper sulfate. This is how. So we can see that the zinc has converted into blackish color, right? The second one, copper sulfate solution with iron nail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Iron nail. Now, can you distinguish the color variation?
Green.
Copper sulfate color is
Green.
greenish, green and blue mixed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Bluish in color. And what about this? When we drop the iron nail, so the color changes. It is changing towards like brownish, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It is changing like slightly brownish. When you see deeper, surrounding to the nail, it is brownish, right?
Yes,
Why
ma'am.
this happens? Why this color changes takes place? Why this color changes takes place? Because copper and iron. Iron is more reactive than the copper. So iron replaces copper. Iron replaces
Copper.
Hence we can see the changes in the color. And what about third experiment?
Zinc sulfate.
Zinc sulfate with
Copper piece.
Copper piece. You can see that the copper piece is somewhat
Not shiny.
no. Let's see. You can see the original copper piece, copper metal.
Yes.
Changes like this. It changes like finished one, the shiny one. Why this happens? This is zinc and this is copper. Which is highly reactive? Zinc is highly reactive than the copper. Zinc is highly reactive than the
Copper.
no. What solution we took? Magnesium, right?
Yes.
Here we took magnesium salt. Third one, ಯಾವ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ನಾವು salt? Magnesium.
Sure.
Right? So magnesium is highly reactive than the copper. Magnesium is highly reactive than the
Copper.
So copper is less reactive compared to the magnesium. Hence, if you see the it is changing its color, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So copper is almost replacing with the magnesium. You can see finally like this.
Copper.
And what about third fourth one?
Iron sulfate with copper piece.
Iron sulfate with copper piece, right? So already we placed an copper piece in an iron sulfate. What happens? So iron is more reactive than the copper. So iron replaces copper and the copper changes into fine finishing copper, very bright copper. And the final one is sulfate and iron nail. Zinc sulfate and iron nail. What about zinc? Zinc is more reactive than the
Iron.
Okay. Now when you observe the nail, yeah, you can see here.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is iron nail, and when you place this in a zinc sulfate, you can see that iron has been replaced with zinc, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You can see the coating of zinc on iron nail. So iron is replaced with zinc. Why this happens? Why this happens? ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಥರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? Because it is completely based on reactivity series. So here the replacement of metal with other metal takes place. When the replacement takes place? When the highly reactive elements reacts with less reactive element, the highly reactive element replaces less reactive element. So these are the highly reactive elements replaces less reactive elements. Is that clear?
Yes,
So this is about the metals reactivity with other metals. The metals, how the metals reacts with other
Metals.
Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Now you want to clean up all these solutions.
Okay, ma'am.
The groups, first group, come and clean up this. Take the water and clean them. Remove all the metals, nails.
Ma'am, something off.